dun, dun. Let me just change this. Dun. There we go. I didn't delete anything from this today. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Hello, hello. Yeah, I did. I got some rest. Because caffeine makes me tired first, and then it kicks in. Or whatever type of energy drinks, the stuff energy drinks have. Like, all that stuff makes me tired first, and then it kicks in. Though to be fair, I took that stuff like quite a while ago, so if it did kick in, it's probably worn off by now. Probably, I don't know. Either way, I did get rest. I was like, my microphone was down, right? No, she didn't need to tell me anything. She knows how I am. She usually scolds me if I'm in person. She like can tell that I haven't eaten. Or something similar, or something related to all that. But no, I've been good. A few setbacks here and there, but nothing major. Just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Oh, I want to try to get certain things done this weekend, so just gonna keep going by the list of things to work on. So after this page is done, I'm gonna work on secrets next, and then I might wait on working on underground collectors stuff for the rest of the month. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. If something sparks an idea, then I'll probably draw something, but right now I think I can just wait until next month and focus more on the current projects. At some point I'm gonna go back and finish off that Sonic fan comic that I was doing. Just at the time it was just like something was missing, so that's why I stopped. Like, I wasn't feeling that spark. Now I could probably do more since back then Sage wasn't even a thing. But now since she is, I can easily put her in the comic. Which would honestly make a lot of sense given the situation the characters are in. Actually, in this case, I don't think I need to do that. Because everything is fine with it, it was just some parts, I was just kind of losing motivation for it for a bit. Or, I say for a bit, I haven't worked on it in years. I just lost motivation for it, because like, something was just felt off at a certain point. But now I could get back into it. But I want to clear up other stuff that I'm working on first before I start tackling another thing. That's why I'm willing to work on the 2.5 chapters for iHat and Black Circus, because they're just like little moments. They're like not important to the story, but they were just something I wanted to do for a long time. And so I figured just do it, but do it in flat color, since they're not like plot relevant. Maybe. Like, I can easily go back and just update it with what I do, because luckily the way I do things, I can easily just go back into a page and just update it with my current style, or at least with the current shading method, because the flat coloring doesn't change. Like, that remains the same. Maybe the art style might be a little different compared to then and now, just like a little bit. Mostly, probably like, I don't know, maybe like a little bit of anatomy and just like the way I do the eyes. But other than that, everything else should be the same. So all it boils down to is just the shading and lighting. But that's if I feel like doing that. I might. I'll have to look at what I've done with the, because I think I was using cell shading style for the Sonic comic, or for the that side comic with Clove and Thunderbolt. If I decide to revisit the actual Sonic fan comic, the one that was doing with Ballad and all that, I would have to refresh myself with what I've done. And obviously, if I would with that comic, preferably I would want to reboot it, just because there's a lot of things that I would do differently now. And I'd probably try to be a little bit more on model with the characters. Or at least closer to it. Because, like when it comes to the female characters, it's a little... not exactly confusing. It's just more like working with them proportionately when they're... if I'm involving nudity and stuff like that. And then it's like certain characters are more curvy than others type of thing, where it's like you have like Rouge the Bat and Wave, but then you look at Amy, and Amy's more designed the way that Sonic is designed. So it's like one of those situations. And then the only thing that kinda throws me off, although they might have adjusted this in the IDW comics at least, is like the whole hands to leg ratio thing and the hand size type of thing. I don't know. I'll have to like look back at how like Archie Comics did it back in the day with proportions and stuff like that. Because like if you look at the Sat-AM characters, they're a little bit more proportionate to their body types. Like their hands aren't huge. They're more relative to their size. So it'll just be something I'll need to research and just kind of pay attention to if I decide to reboot it. And I'll definitely, like, there's a lot of things I would redo. Like, I definitely wouldn't toss in Shadow so early. Even though the Shadow that I used was technically just a android, I still would do that differently nowadays. Because back then I was just kind of drawing for the sake of drawing. I wasn't really... like, I had some idea of a plot, but I was just kind of going without paying too much attention to the flow of the story. So I would definitely do things differently. Definitely the OG, of course. I mean, we gotta have Dummy Thick Rouge. No way in hell I would use the Nerf version. Hello, hello. Like, the Nerf version is just like, why? It's like, why the hell did you design a sexy character and decide to not make her sexy? Or to lean away from her being sexy? It's like literally the point of the character. I always found it ironic. Like, for me, growing up, when Rouge was first introduced, I was just like, oh, we have a game version of Bunny now. Because before Rouge, it was basically Bunny and Breezy, who were the sexy type characters. Which is funny because they ended up using Breezy later down the line in the Archie comics. Yeah, it's people's people's view on mature content has been warped heavily in the last decade. It's like, oh no, this female character is sexy now. That's a bad thing because of idiotic reasons. Or it's like, oh, it's unrealistic, or oh, that's not achievable. And then I'm like, there are clearly women who have achieved such body types. It's not like it's completely unrealistic. Sure, you can exaggerate, but not everything is unrealistic. And the same goes for men. It's like, it's not like, it's like, what about them? It's the same situation. What the fuck are we trying to bullshit here? But I don't know. Like, I mean, me personally, I've never been affected by that. I'm just like, okay, if you're having a problem with it, that's more of a you thing. It's like, I grew up in the 90s where nobody gave a shit because we all understood that it was fucking fantasy. And for those who couldn't separate it, they had their own issues to work out. So... And back when Sonic comics had a lot of flirting and shit like that in it. Even in the cartoons. So... Like, even though that wasn't heavily focused on for me, at least for a time, until I got older, I was just kind of like, yeah, it was there. And? Or all the nonsense that went on with Marvel and DC comics. I don't know. I'm just in the mindset of like, guys, let people draw whatever the fuck they want to draw, and if you don't like it, just avoid it. And if you come across it every once in a while, then that's just like, you know, an accident or a chance encounter. It's like, it's not like it's intentional. It was kind of like that one time where one person clicked on one of my artwork and then complained about it being like either too adult or whatever. And I'm like, okay, why did you click on it? And then they're like, well, I can't tell what it is based on the thumbnail. I'm like, okay, that's fair. But once you find out what it is, just leave. You don't have to sit there and bitch about it. Like, I 100% agree. If you can't tell what's in the thumbnail and you click on it, and then you see that it's something you don't like, fair. You know, you saw something that doesn't gel with you. But after that point, you decide to leave. You don't sit there and complain about it to the person who drew it or the creator, because all you're doing is just sitting looking at something that's pissing you off. Things do not have to be realistic in art. Yeah, I 100% agree. Kids watch. Yeah, and then there's that scenario where it's like, oh, children might come across this thing. And I'm like, okay, I will say that it is fair to properly label your shit, so that way it's less likely for a child to come across your content. Depending on the site, obviously. Like, if a site it says it's for 13 and older, then yes, properly label your shit. But if they're on a site that says 18 and older, one, they're already faking their age, because they shouldn't be on there to begin with. So if they are on that site, that means their parents have failed them. Or, okay, there's parents that failed them if they're not supposed to be on the site, period, the end. And then there's parents who already explained these types of things, are probably aware of what their children look at. So if, you know, questions arise, then it's up to them to properly discuss this with their child and not like lose their shit, say it's like, oh my god, it's just forbidden, you should never be here, this will, you know, turn you into, I don't know, let's just say a sex addict or something. It's like, you just have to have parents be fucking parents. Like I was in a unique situation where I did save content like that and printed it out and saved it in like a folder that I had physically, and then my mom found it, and like the difference with me was that I saved that stuff because I was interested in the actual art. It had nothing to do with the characters being naked and stuff like that. I was just like, no, I like the art style and I'd want to try to practice, drawing and shading and all that. So I just told her the truth when she asked me about it, and I was like, yeah, I was saving it for the art, literally, because I could care less that I was naked at that point because I had seen that shit enough times. I just kind of didn't give a shit about it. I was like, oh, this woman's naked, gee, like I haven't seen that for the 50th fucking time. Like that meant nothing to me after a certain point. I was like, yeah, cool story. Yeah. And then parents also have to understand that there's going to be situations where their kids are just going to do something beyond their control. Like, come on, how many of us have been told not to do something by our parents, and then we did it anyway? Like, at least at that point, our parents tried to, um, pay attention to what we were doing and stuff like that. But after a certain point, if it happens, it happens. The most you can do is be there for your kid when you find out that they're looking at that content and all that, and just make sure that they understand that this stuff is not real. The things that happen are not realistic to real life. So, for example, if you come across a pretty woman and you take some upskirt photo or some shit, and you get caught by, I don't know, like you go through the whole anime scenario of the sequence of events that happen there, where everything's like bizarrely, convenient and stuff like that. They need to understand that that is unrealistic. That doesn't happen in real life. It's fine to enjoy the content as it is, as a story, as fantasy, as fiction, and then move on from there. It's like, just be a parent, explain it, make sure they understand it, and if there's a problem, that's when you take it away, or you heavily restrict it so that way it's not a problem. Sure, they might go behind your back, but that's up to you to try to enforce it more, and play by ear. Like, obviously you can't protect them from everything. Yeah, if it like goes too far, that's when you take it upon yourself to block the content. Sure, they might get pissed off, or the kid might get pissed off and all that, but that's you being a parent at that point. Like, that's literally what you have to do. But a lot of parents are lazy nowadays, and they want like the government to do the parenting for them, which is stupid because it's fucking everybody else over for their laziness. And giving us bullshit like age restricted websites, or it's not, or not even age restricted websites. It's like ID requirements for mature sites. So like, if we get to a point where I need a goddamn ID to see fucking DeviantArt, then we're gonna have a problem. And DeviantArt's not even like the greatest site in the world anyway. But if it ends up going low level to like sites like that, then we have a problem. Because imagine what happens to the higher sites, or to the actual adult sites. Yeah, and this is, at least to me, this has been a problem since at least 2016. If it was earlier, I probably didn't notice it as hard as I did starting around 2016, because that's when a lot of people started being like really fucking sensitive for some reason. And it just kind of feels like that we got to a point where it was like people did not know how to fuck, or certain people don't know how to fucking parent, or just don't care about their kids until it's like too late. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe they're into this, or they're this type of way. And I'm just like, well, if you were an actual parent, you could have at least guided them through these scenarios so it didn't come out in a certain way. But then you have parents that are just like, I don't know how they came into the mentality that they came into, but like they assume that if their child does one thing, that means they're going to be one thing. Like, I have a... no, he's not a friend. There's a guy I know who thinks that if his son like his son's only like 4, but he thinks that if his son plays with anything female, whether it be a video game character, a toy, whatever, anything that's related to girls, that he thinks that it'll turn his son gay. And I'm just sitting there going like, excuse me, what? I'm like, how? How did you come to this conclusion? Like, he refuses to let, like, they have Mario Kart, and he refuses to let his son play as any of the female characters. And I'm sitting there going like, you took your son to see the Mario movie, and Peach is treated like a girl boss in that movie, so what? Were you okay with that? He probably wasn't, now that I think about it, but... This is why I'm having little faith in humanity. I know they're trying to make it so you gotta get IDs to use. I know, yeah, that is stupid as well. Hello, hello. Yeah, like, oh, we're gonna make it so you have to have an ID to use your computer. I was like, are you kidding me? And we all know that this is just because certain people or certain companies just want your information. And the worst part is like, if ID stuff were to pass, I would say within the same month, those companies would, because they're all going to go through third-party companies. They're never going to be on any major company that wants you to have your ID and all that. It's always going to be third-party because nobody wants to be responsible for when the eventual hack will happen. And that will happen within the same month that if that were to pass in certain areas, those places are going to get hacked like immediately. It's already happened like 5 times ever since they started trying to do this. And it's getting fucking ridiculous that they still want to try to pass it. I'm like, guys, your own idea has been hacked more times than we would ever want in a single year. And not even a year. And you still want to push it. It's like, good lord. It's like, how did people get so fucking stupid in like the last decade or so? Hey, granted, people are already fucking stupid, but this is like abnormally stupid. And I think it's just laziness. I think it's just certain groups of people are now of a certain age, and they just didn't learn anything about like certain content and certain ways of navigating the internet. And so they think that they need both the government and other factors to fix their mistakes because they don't know how to navigate through. So all I can do is just adapt to whatever fucking happens. Like, I'll obviously try to, like, if voting matters in a way of, preventing these changes, I'll do it. But outside of that, if change comes up that I have to figure out how to MacGyver around, then I will. Like, oh, you can't put mature content on this site anymore. Like for example, if I couldn't use Patreon to post mature content, then I would just reverse it, where it's like, okay, Patreon would be used for passwords to unlock the content, and then there we go. That would basically be it. because there'd be no. Well, I'm sure there'd probably be more ways to handle it, but that'd be like the first idea. But yeah, it's it's just getting dumb, and I don't understand why certain people aren't seeing it. But then again, they're the same people that are causing the problem, so I shouldn't be surprised. No worries. Have a good night. Sorry for the rant. I get. You know how I get when art is involved. Did I change this for... No, it's still the same. Okay. Do... Without such a shit, I know. It's just annoying because it's such a simple situation to get around, and yet we're just making things worse. Also comforting. Yeah, because I mean, it is a interesting discussion. It's interesting to me because it's so easy to solve, but we're playing on hard mode for no reason. And then of course there's always going to be exceptions to, like, you can't prevent everything. I get, like, obviously that's the case, and I understand that some people would like to try to make these issues not a thing, but it's just people are going to find ways around it. People are going to find ways to access it, regardless of their age. And it just boils down to understanding what is considered real and what isn't, because I don't understand why we keep treating fictional content as if it was real, but then when it comes to real life problems, we just ignore it. Or don't treat it as seriously as we should. Or even worse is that people will fight to get fictional content removed, but then when real life stuff comes up, nobody even tries, or very few people try to do something about it. It's like, damn, there was like 100,000 people arguing about this bunny girl in a bikini, but here's another person who's being abused or whatever, and there's only like maybe 100 people worried about that. It's like, damn, what happened to the other 900 or 9,000 people, or 90,000, 900,000 people, or whatever many numbers? Blah. You understand my point. I'm just annoyed of it. because it shouldn't be a problem, and yet it is. $99,900. There we go. But yeah, if I have to take drastic measures just to keep doing what I'm doing, then I will. I've already thought of a few ways to go about it. Hopefully that will not be necessary. Luckily, sites like Subscribestar have figured out other means of continuing their site, so at least that won't be an issue. Patreon's still hanging in there, so we'll just keep riding that ship until something happens. I'm still baffled by the whole hypnotism thing. It's like, oh, you can't have fictional characters not be able to consent to being hypnotized. I'm like, what? It's like, what are we even doing at that point? And the sad part is, we all know that the adult sites know that this is stupid. It was all the payment processors, but I think right now they have to calm down about their bullshit restrictions and stuff like that, so it might not be a problem for a bit, but some of the websites, like Patreon, were like really trying to be a stickler about that. I know Subscribestar doesn't give a shit, which is great. It's like, God bless that site. Yeah, like, I mean, obviously it depends on what happens in hypnotism stories, because, you know, that can pretty much go anywhere. But still, it's just like, wow, we got so much other stuff, and this is one of the issues you have. And again, this all just heavily boils down to just everything being properly labeled, you know, make sure kids can't just easily access it. And that's kind of it, really. That's like the extent you really need to do, and then parents just need to fucking parent. Basically it. Anything further than that, and it's just like, man, someone fucked up somewhere. That's why my mom was awesome. She properly explained this shit to me when I was young. And that's why I'm just unfazed by it, because it's just like whatever to me. It's like, oh, naked body, cool. It's like, oh, this one's gory. And hell, the whole weight gain stuff, like, that's like its own fucking... I mean, obviously it's its own category, but like, that can go all over the place. And it's where, like, one person tried to argue, it's like, oh, well, the reason why people are okay with violence compared to sexual stuff is because death and whatever is, like, more common. And I'm like, that makes zero sense. Both of them are equally common. Yeah, if we're talking about, like, the more bizarre stuff, like, I don't know, bondage and hypnotism, sure, you can say that's less common. But it's still, like, a thing that happens. Hypnotism definitely is rare, and that's, like, less of a problem. Unless you were talking about, like, psychological warfare stuff. I don't know. I know I'm rambling too much about it. I don't know. I think because it's so stupid, that's why I'm confused by it. Because it shouldn't be a problem. It's like looking at a car crash. You just can't look away from it because it's so, like, out of the ordinary. Or, like, the logic just doesn't make sense based on what the problem was. I should do roboticization artwork at some point, just like characters being turned into robots, or mid-transformation. That'd be fun. I think the closest I've done is just drawing robot versions of characters, but not like mid-transformation. That might be something I should do at some point. That'd be fun. I mean, I'm sure there's like a plethora of categories I haven't touched yet. I haven't really done feet stuff. I think I only did that like once or twice. Mostly with Becky. Three-part transformation, but two of them were just the before and after. Yeah, like obviously you need a before and after, but I guess it just depends on what the third picture, the middle picture was, because if it's only like their legs being turned into a machine, but then the rest is being turned, but then the last page is just them fully machine, that kind of defeats the point. It's got to be at least 50%. Or if you break it up more, you just do 20, 50, 70, 70 or 80. That's cool. Hello, hello. I need to do more rep sheets. I've only done like, what, 5? Ever? I don't know, they were just never relevant. Or at least not to anyone else other than me. And the only my references have just been looking up the comic pages that I drew the characters in, because it's like, well, I already drew them in this angle. What do I need a reference sheet for? Other than, I don't know, like the size of something. I do want to do another Sonic pick. Continuing the goth cream thing. That was fun. Had another idea for that. I also want to draw my characters wearing different fashion again. I've only done that a few times. And not just like casual stuff. Just like bizarre like fashion that you definitely wouldn't see them in normally. I should do some fan art of Amazing Digital Circus at some point. They'll be on the list. Whichever characters I decide to draw. Alright, got that, to that, to that. Let's shape this a little bit more. Oh yeah, that was funny. The potential vor. Honestly, the only criticism I have of Amazing Digital Circus so far is just the handling of the ending portion of episode 7. It just kind of felt weird for Pomni to act that way towards the end, given their situation, because even Zubul brings it up, but it's like not addressed. Because like even in episode 8 where Zubul confronts Jax about him doing what he does, she doesn't talk to Pomni about why the hell she was reacting that way. And I think it's like partially address when Jax confronts Kane about whether or not Kane can control people, or at least like manipulate their minds in some way. But there wasn't like any attention on Pomni about it. So that's like honestly my only real nitpick of the series so far. Yeah, but like it's like it was just a bizarre take because they seemed so confident in what they were going to do, and then you literally just have a yes or no option, and then she just doesn't pick it and decides, okay, we're gonna have Kinger do it, but then she's hesitant about Kinger because he wasn't like of sound mind yet, and then Zubul was just like, what are we doing? Because it's a yes or no answer. It wasn't like here's 50 buttons, you gotta pick the right one. And it was like obvious choices, so it wasn't like something confusing. So like, yeah, it could have been because of Abel acting weird towards that part, but like again, she was like super confident right before it, because like, you know, they all hold hands. They're saying they're being really optimistic, and then suddenly she gets cold feet. Like, it would have been interesting if it would have made more sense if she was still thinking about it as they were exploring the office and looking for, you know, the console and all that. Like, it would have made sense if she was like still being suspicious or still like thinking about it, but she showed like no signs of being affected by that moment until she got to the console. And then suddenly it was a problem. Or at least an unclear problem, because she was just suddenly like, am I doing this right? And then thought that Kinger would have a better stance on it, despite him not being ready for that scenario. So I think it was just poorly handled in terms of character reaction and response, especially since during the aftermath with episode 8, where Zubul doesn't even talk to Pomni about it. She only confronts Jax for doing something that could have potentially kept them trapped in there, regardless if it was real or fake. Murder Drones. I need to finish watching Murder Drones because I've only seen like the first 2 episodes, and then I just didn't continue it. So I'll probably rewatch it from the beginning just so I remember what the hell happened, because I barely remember shit about Murder Drones. Just something about it didn't like click with me compared to the others, but I'll give it another shot. I would like to see more of that one show, or one series with the everybody being zombies thing, except for one who's human. Forget the name of that, because that one looked fun. Or isn't it like Gaslight District or something like that? I think that's what it was called. Yes, that's what it was called. Cool. Yeah, that one looked fun. Okay, I think we're good. I might tweak how I do this moving forward. Or once we get to World Gates, to the universe. Hope everyone's doing alright. You need to go to sleep. Then go to sleep. I think I need to volume this up a bit more. Yeah, don't miss that. Take your time. Much better. I know, huh? Like, he somewhat has some muscle in Hetty because of all the yard work and stuff he was doing for like the week or so. Trying to make money so he could keep her fed. Or keep Hetty fed. That'd be funny. If I lived in an area where a bunch of people just put up like art in front of their houses or something like that, at some point I'm gonna draw a sexy furry. And that would be an interesting conversation. The real question is, what animal would I use? Especially if I could only do this once, what would I pick? Part of me wants to say a duck. But then there'd be the whole like, oh, reminds them of Daffy or Donald or some shit. And I'm just like... So it'd have to be something... I don't know if unique is the right word, but just like something uncommon. But at the same time, still pleasing to the eye. Maybe a peacock. Although making the feathers would be fucking death sentence. I mean, Jimmy does do that in the comic. He does carry like a shit ton of groceries. A few times. But yeah, I tried to not make him like overly toned because in the comic he looks like a little bit too toned. Especially since he's only been doing this for like a week or so. So it just seemed like a little one it seemed a little bit too much, and two, I don't know. To me personally, it just didn't fit the character very well. Kind of like how in Bleach, where we have Ichigo being jacked all the time. And I'm like, okay, one, most of the shit that he does was with his spirit or soul, so it wasn't even anything he was doing physically. And two, he's fucking like, what, 16? Like, come on. We haven't seen him do anything like that physically. Although I think, did his dad run a dojo? I don't think he ran a dojo, but they did just kind of like spar or fight each other comedically. But it wasn't like to the point where it made sense. I don't know. I think it was just like the stereotypical young character is jacked for some reason, despite not doing anything related to it. Not like a total deal breaker, it's just kind of bizarre. I totally expect that to happen during their gray years. Foxes in red dresses. Yeah, like some of the time skips just don't make sense, or it just feels half-assed. Where it's like, oh, we're gonna make it so that things moved up in a year, and then certain characters just look different or have different abilities and stuff like that. I'm like, man, would have been nice to see how they learned this, or the events that took place to get them to this point. I think for me, one of the worst things about time skips and other world building stuff is where how do I explain this? Like in Naruto, for example, it's like, okay, the characters all like. I think my biggest problem with Naruto is that it's supposed to be a universe that has to do with ninjas, but hardly any of the characters dress like they're ninjas, and they're always wearing like bright colors. It's like, oh yes, because that's how we're gonna hide, by wearing bright colors. Like, I get it. Like, it's that's more of a nitpicky thing because obviously the characters gotta look unique and stuff like that. But like, I think one of my major problems though with the world is how they have certain technology, and a lot of it seems to be absent at certain points. Where you see like air conditioning and like televisions and stuff like that, and like satellite dishes, and I'm like, wait, if they have satellite dishes, wouldn't that mean that they have something in space, but it's never really addressed? It's just kind of there. And then some of their technology just gets completely ignored, where they have like comm links and stuff like that in the beginning, but then suddenly they don't have it anymore. It's like really bizarre when you look at where their technology is in that series. Because some of that stuff just like disappears after like the first arc, or the first when they're younger and all that. And then there are supposed to be like cities and stuff like that, but then it's just heavily focused on like middle of nowhere areas. And then I think on the map there's like several areas that are not addressed at all. But who am I to talk? I have multiple world building stuff that I still gotta do, that I gotta address. So best I can do is just try to learn from other content that I look at. Try not to make the same mistakes, or at least if I do, find ways to rectify it. Or at least pay attention. Okay. And this weekend I definitely want to work on a particular side project. Maybe that's what I'll do in place of the underground collectors for a bit. Unless I can make time for both. Because I've been meaning to do that, I've just been occupied with other things. Nah, who am I kidding? I'm not being occupied. I'm just bad with my use of time. So I need to be better about that. Luckily, I'm almost done with this. It's mostly just the rendering and then the background and then the dialogue. So luckily there's a flow to all this. Back to Amazing Digital Circus. Hopefully everybody can avoid spoilers after the movie comes out. Just completely avoid the internet for like 2 weeks. So yep, the movie came out. Guess I'm not touching the internet for 2 weeks. Cause you know that shit's gonna show up on YouTube. Tips for keeping characters having same proportions and consistencies in side-by-side panels. What do you mean by side-by-side panels? Like, keeping them looking the same overall? I mean, basically just try to pay attention to the length of where everything should be. So, like for example, if the elbow of the arm matches up with their waist, and just pay attention to that. I guess try not to make their heads too big. Sometimes that's an issue because you start with the head, and then if the body is in like some awkward position, they just end up smaller. So don't stress too much about it unless it becomes like an overall problem where the character is just constantly like head too big, body too small type of thing. If you're making a reference sheet of the characters, use that because that will help you try to pay attention to their proportions. Certain details like maybe hair or like certain lines are obviously going to be different every once in a while unless their hair is like super stylized. When it comes to fur, like if you're putting like loose strands every once in a while, don't stress out over constantly having to do that. Like just pay attention to like the initial shape, and then if you feel like putting loose strands, you can, but it's not like a necessity. Yeah, like just overall pay attention to how the character is supposed to look and just try to match it as consistently as you can, but like don't super stress over it. If you feel you need to fix their proportions and consistency, then do so. But again, like it's not the end of the world if you're off model every once in a while. Like, that was my problem with Marci a few times in True Ending 4 and True Ending, or 5 and 6. And I guess, well, it wasn't 4? No, not 4. It was 5 and 6. But yeah, I had some consistency issues with her a few times. Definitely when she was like bigger and she had the whole like small arms, big, larger, everything else type of thing. I try to pay attention to that stuff a little bit more nowadays, but that was definitely a problem back then. And then obviously if you're drawing fat characters, depending on how big you make them, there's going to be consistency issues, because a lot of the time when it comes to weight gain art, characters' body proportions are just all over the place because it's treated as if their bodies are being stretched out rather than staying where they are initially, and then make the fat, expand and wrap around them, which is the more proper way to do it. Because, they're not supposed to get taller and they're not supposed to, have their bones just stretch out so that way they can accommodate for the change. Like, it doesn't work like that. That's why whenever I draw Marci, it seems like on her own she's gotten taller or that her body, does all that. But whenever I have her standing next to another character, that's usually when I try to pay attention to her actual measurements and size. Cause she's relatively short. She's only like 5 foot or something like that. Like 5'3" or something. Whatever sizes that I gave her. Let me see. How tall is she? Because most of the time I don't pay attention to any of this. It's just there for like flavor text or just additional information that may or may not be used. She is 5 foot, yes. She just looks tall when I draw her alone. I definitely need to look back into painting styles or painting tutorials and all that, because I would like to do that again, but they are very time consuming compared to my usual methods. Because depending on what I draw from start to finish, it's like roughly 3 hours, depending on how complicated the picture is. But painting is like 6 to 8 hours, and that's with break, or that's not counting breaks, which is why I haven't done it very often. Like, luckily I can use most of my methods at the start when I'm painting, but then there's like a certain point where I have to start using different techniques for it. Because there's just a certain point where you have to change it up if it's gonna look that style. But like I said, I haven't used it in a while. When was the last time I used it? No, like character paintings. Because I've used it a few times. When was the last time I used it? Might be around here. No. Although I do need to practice backgrounds more too, so there's that. I need to definitely step up my backgrounds. Looks like the last time I was messing with it was with Plum, with just her head. Was there any other time? I don't think it... Did I do that with Blake? Let me look. Doesn't look like it. No, definitely not. Was there another moment outside of Plum? Might have done it with an art set. I'm going further back and I don't see it popping up again, so it might have been in an art set. There's the Tiffany thing. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it had to be an art set because I'm going way back at this point. Yeah, so let me see if it showed up in an art set. Blah blah blah. No. If I did do it, it should be popping up pretty soon. I think the last time was either the dating a chubby chaser thing, or it was the art set with Jam. That might have been like the last time I did it. Yeah, I think Jam was the last time I like fully did it. They just take a while. Oh, this thing right here? I just put this on, like it'll have like more information that it doesn't say on it. It's just kind of here. It's more like a brochure of everything, but it's like dressed up as a golden ticket because originally it was going to be blue, but then when you said golden ticket, I was like, yeah, you know what, fuck it. So yeah, just a typical like, oh, you get to go here, blah blah blah. And then off screen will, or not off screen, but like without text, Jimmy will read that there's more on it where it's like, oh, it says here I can redeem it with my email, but of course I'm gonna make him react where he like doesn't remember entering such a contest or such a chance to get the vacation. But then that's when he's gonna give Hetty an ultimatum. And I'll give her like a little bit of leeway, or a little bit of getting away with something bad scenario, but she's definitely going to fall in line to what I envisioned for the character. Or at least envisioned for the story between her and Jimmy. There is a certain way I want to do backgrounds, but I'm gonna wait until I start up the main chapters for Hi-Hat and Black Circus. I might use it in Creamfield since we haven't really done too much. Although Plum's room might kind of stand out in comparison, but that should be fine. We didn't really see much of her room to begin with. So it might be something I'll, like if we see her room again, it might be something that will just like up the quality and details on once I get the hang of the type of style I want to try. It's one of those like loose styles that kind of like what's like the best comparison? Kind of like Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind type of concept art. It's kind of like that. But yeah, or it's like a mix of that and maybe like H.R. Geiger type of look. But I definitely gotta practice with it more before I can properly use it. Is it Geiger or Giger? I'm just gonna go with Geiger for now. Did this already, but just in case I didn't. Dun. I should probably save. That would be smart. technically not gonna see them there, but whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Probably less than a bit. Okay, let me check. Yeah, I probably poorly worded it. What I meant to say was that, like, during the dinner, they could still get breakfast items and lunch items. But I can always redo this if necessary. I'll just have to redo the main text, because everything else is, like, it's all, like, flattened for the most part. So I'd have to redo the text. But yeah, I can better make this make more sense. So yeah, I probably just poorly worded a few things here and there. But yeah, I'll keep that in mind before I finish out the page. Yeah, I'll mess with it off stream. set the bit because this doesn't need to be lingered on for this long. It's more just lighten stuff up where it's needed. Okay, I think I'll call it for now. All that's really left is the background, the tweaks to the brochure, and and the dialogue for the characters, and they'll be pretty much done. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Sorry that I only streamed like once this week. I'll hopefully fix that next week. Um, Pretty much once I do page 5 for the Hetty versus Marci comic, then I'll start uploading again publicly because I just wanted to create like a bit of a gap for between subscription and public. So so yeah, that will be when that returns publicly. Other than that, after this is done, I will work on I Had Secrets and whatever else, and just keep that up. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. All right, take care. Have a good night. Bye bye.